Welcome back to another episode of Mommas Who Lead. I'm your host, Laura Caroffino, and here on this podcast, we help moms, entrepreneurs, and leaders step into their purpose, grow personally and professionally, and build lives that they feel aligned and fulfilling. Today, we're diving into an exciting and unexpected way to foster personal, professional, creative growth, not through traditional education, but through games and educational entertainment. Yes, you heard that right. Games are just not for kids. They can be powerful tools for stress relief, critical thinking, leadership, and personal development, especially for military spouses, veterans, and busy working moms. And to help us unpack this fascinating topic, I am so thrilled to introduce you all to Kat Mahoney on our show today. Kat is a powerhouse in educational entertainment and mental health advocacy. She's presented at Mental Health America in Washington, D.C., served as an advisor for the Google Health and Technology team, and was a keynote speaker at the Governor's Military Mental Health Conference. She's also an award-winning author, a National Military Spouse of the Year nominee, and the founder of a nonprofit dedicated to supporting military children. She's done a lot, and I'm just so honored to have you here. So she knows the firsthand how the right tools and creative approaches can empower families, relieve stress, and build skills that last a lifetime. So, if you're a mom, a veteran, or somebody looking for innovative ways to grow, you're in a treat. So, let's dive in. Kat, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it, and I'm very honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Your background is so fascinating, and we also have, being military spouses, very similar backgrounds, and I just found it so interesting that you use education and games to really help you get through different stages in life. And I would love to know, like, how you got inspired to go down the educational entertainment avenue. Like, where'd that start?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really popular question, especially because back during the time when I was younger, and we're going, I'm not too old, but I'm telling my age, right? So I actually started getting really into entertainment and the technology aspect during the Commodore 64. And that was, I mean, we're talking nowadays, everything's on the phone, right? We have everything right at our fingertips. But the Commodore was like this huge thing that connected to your big TV. And it was really the start of my fascination. I moved into Nintendo, and then moved into Atari, and then, Sony PlayStation, and really gaming on the PC. I really wanted to indulge myself in critical thinking among the fact of technology was new, and what could we do that was entertaining but keep it educational. And I was always been the type that I want to learn new things all the time. I constantly want, I mean, they can be useless stuff too, but I enjoy learning. So I really started back then. And then I went to school for computer science. And it was during the dot-com boom. So it was during the time when people were really new to this internet stuff. Wow, what is a world wide web, So it was fairly new. The cell phones were still those big brick phones, right? So it
Oh,
was
yeah.
it was very fascinating to me. I wanted to see where it brought us. So I started doing a lot of getting into the computer science aspect, the web designing, the marketing aspect for businesses, as well as the gaming aspect, because I found businesses wanted to find ways to engage with customers instead of just going to their website and reading everything and then moving on. And then when I had kids, three kids, two were on the spectrum, and their learning was different.
Mhm.
So their learning really enhanced through entertainment. And that really kind of connected what I was doing already in the business field to what my kids, how my kids were learning. So that's really how I got into the whole shebang of educational entertainment.
Oh my goodness. I love how like you were talking about like how, you adapted with your kids were had some different ways of learning that you needed to adapt with it and you were able to bring in that experience. What would you say, when was there a pivoting time where you thought, I'm helping my family when, as a mom and a military spouse, like what like personal experience maybe led you to focus on helping other families to get through this?
Sure. One of the, as you know, I was a military spouse. I was actually a military brat turned spouse. So I've
Ah,
been in the military lifestyle for over 40 years. It's really been, it is definitely a community, and it
mhm,
is a different way of life. A lot of people don't understand the differences. And I can talk on and on about transitioning from, military to civilian, in that aspect as well. But it's really when I found out that there was some gap between the educational system and the home life. So even counselors during the schools would not completely understand why a child was coming into the office crying and not in and normally this is a very good child, and all of a sudden they start crying, or they're not doing their homework, or they're losing sleep, and the counselors were there to talk, but they really didn't engage,
mm,
and the kids really didn't open up. And I there was one incident where a teacher had come into the office. I was a PTO president, and a teacher came into the office while I was in there, and she said, a great teacher, and she said, I don't know what's going on with him. Just he's normally a good student, but he's just crying and crying. I can't get him to sit down. I can't get him to, focus on anything. Can I just bring him in the office and just let him sit here for a little bit? And I thought, okay, I understand. You don't want to distract the other kids, and you got to get some work done. But the kids sat in the office most of the day while I was in there doing paperwork. And I
mm,
thought, nobody's come in to really talk to this child. And so I sat down and I really started to talk about, what you like to do, what was going on, and found out that the child's parents had been deployed
mm,
and he was staying with grandparents. Now, normally, in the military lifestyle, it's normal for us. That happens all the time. But sometimes there are times when changes just drastically affect us, and
mhm,
we don't really know the whole story. So I started Kids for America's Heroes, where I really intertwined counseling, the counselors and the teachers, to really engage with the military students in an after school program where they would come in and they would take some time, they could volunteer some time to just sit with the kids, do some crafts, do some artwork, talk to them in a very, unconventional means of, not that learning aspect where they didn't feel like it was teacher parent or teacher student. It was, I'm just having fun and somebody's here talking to me. And it opened up a whole new prospect of communication,
mm.
and it really involved the teachers and the counselor to see that what they liked, what they enjoyed doing entertainment wise, again, bringing that edutainment aspect into critical need.
Do you know if it's been adapted all over, like that program? Or
Sure.
where?
So, right when I left the station that we were at during the
Yeah.
time of creating this, the
Mhm.
schools actually bought it out and took it over. So it actually became an after school program, and it was run actually by high school students coming in and doing more of these after school programs with the counselors and the teachers for the elementary schools. So it wasn't just building up, the fundamentals of adults being there. It allowed those military students who were high schoolers to really engage as well and become more mentors. So that's where I kind of left it at that point, but now it has become a national organization.
Wow, that's impressive. Um, I know. I know a lot of kids that can benefit from that. Mine particularly.
Right.
It is hard with that, transition. Currently, I'm dealing with my spouse being deployed. So I've, dealt with some of those rough emotions that our children express. And um, what's so funny, he asked if we can have a game night every Friday. I'm like, absolutely, we can do game night. But I think I love that you saw that mission, and it just shows like your heart and your servant heart. What would you think some of the biggest benefits are using games for personal or professional development?
Sure. It really engages people. That's the biggest thing. It engages people to what they're passionate about. So we talk a lot now about burnout and imposter syndrome and, anxiety meltdown in the workforce, whether it's, even with remote or, in office, we can get to the point where we're just burnt out and we have a lot of other responsibilities as adults that we forget when we were children. Everything just seemed to flow.
Right.
And not that we didn't have rough times as children, because even as children, going to school and being bullied is a very difficult thing, and it should be taken very seriously. But we as children, nonetheless, had a goal for the future, and we had a passion of what we wanted to do when we grew up, per se. And once we hit that adulthood and all these responsibilities started flowing in, we forgot how to have fun. We forgot where that passion was, what we enjoyed really doing. And this also trickles into business as well. Businesses are so engaged in trying to make the profit, they forget that it's about the people, and it's about what you created your business for. Was it for just money? Because then you're not really succeeding. Because if you're just basing your curriculum or your business plan on money, you're not going to really fundamentally bring in a lot of money, because you have to have a reason for doing this. And so there has to be a passion on why you started a business, why you went into a job, why you became, a teacher, or, a mother, or why you stopped working, for that matter. There has to be a passion, and we have to really engage and look at ourselves, and figure out what was that passion again as a child compared to an adult.
Is there a way, do you think that moms could use like gaming to like as a way to relieve stress or bond with their families, build skills even?
Yeah, absolutely. Games now have really become such an important tool and a resource. It used to be just back during the Atari time. Ralph Baer was the inventor of the game Pong. I don't know if you're familiar with Pong,
Love
right?
Atari and
Okay,
Pong,
yes.
yeah.
So when that was invented, it really was just a stimulus of I'm filling in the gap of boredom, right? You
Mm.
just kind of bounce the ball back and forth, bing, 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 and you tried to keep it up in the air without falling. So that really was just, there was no critical thinking to it, and there was no like reason for doing it. It just was to kill time during boredom. And it became very popular. The reason why was because people were starting to engage in that. We call that downtime, we call it flow.
Mm.
And that flow is when businesses, psychiatrists, doctors, parents, whatever it is, start to get into this tunnel vision of I'm anxious or I'm bored, I have nothing else to do, I'm trying to pass time, but I'd like to keep myself entertained and doing something with my hands, with my eyes, with my thoughts, whatever it is. So I have to engage in doing something, right?
Right.
So they end up getting in this mode of just back and forth, like Pong, back and forth. I'm just doing this. Well, now games have become, because they have really looked into flow, games have become more particularly engaging. So when you do games, say for instance, puzzle games, you are actually actively engaging in that mental and critical thinking. Okay, you're actually using and learning new ways. For instance, let's use Zumba. Yeah, that game, that Zumba, Zumba, I think it's called, where you have to hit the marbles and you mix the colors, and or Angry Birds,
Mm.
or Plants vs. Zombies, things like that. You actually are actively using your brain but you're still in that flow state where you're passing time because you're really not doing much, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do it when you're at the doctor's office, right? You're sitting, you're waiting for your time, so you grab your phone and you're starting to do those little puzzles, but you're still actively engaging. So I am a big app person when it comes to utilizing games for that perspective because it does help you mentally. I am also a huge PC gamer, which is a lot of what we call MMORPGs. A lot of people call them massively multiplayer role-playing games. And I don't know if you're familiar with games like World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so World of Warcraft was popular back during the early 90s, and it became very, very big because people started to connect. It was a community where people could talk to each other, where they could solve puzzles together, where they could complete quests together. And you could do this with your spouse even when they were deployed. So they
Oh,
could log on, that you would see their avatar, you would walk around with them, you would talk, and you would have to complete puzzles together, or you would do a whole group. We probably had about 40 people in what we call a raid, and we
oh,
complete a mission together.
okay.
That was my savior during the time my husband was deployed and I had my three kids, which by the way are all 17 months apart.
Oh
Um,
my. Oh
so
my.
so I had a 1, 2, and a 3-year old, and I had no, transportation at the time. I was stuck in the house, and
Oh,
no family or friends around. And so, how do you really get out of the house to socialize? It was very
yeah.
difficult to do that. So I turned to World of Warcraft, and it essentially saved my life because I met other military spouses on there, and we just hit it off, became good friends, and even from a distance, and we know this as military families, you can become friends at a distance. And it really helped me, overcome anxiety and overcome that overwhelming loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And, instead of talking to kids all day, I was actually able to talk to adults. And actually engage yourself in a community. So definitely games are a part of life.
I wish I would have had that when my husband was deployed like that. I didn't even, I probably knew of it, but I didn't know of, I've heard of it before when I was younger. But yeah, that would have been fun to be able to play games with my spouse while he's deployed. That
Right.
was so much fun. And then to meet other people with it. Um,
Absolutely.
Such a great idea. It really is. Because it would, fill so many buckets that you need during that time, that connection, and then socialization and relieves the boredom. And then also you're talking to adults.
Right.
Like you're having
Absolutely.
adult conversations, which is hard when they're deployed and it's just you and you have no family or friends nearby, most of the time. So that's a great idea. Great idea.
Absolutely.
Um, what would you say if, a mom wants to, or what tools would you recommend if a mom wants to develop some leadership, communication, or problem solving skills? Is there like a certain game or what tools would you recommend for her to dive into?
Sure. The first thing whenever I'm the steps that you want to take as far as really essentially building your own skill sets up is you first want to find your passion. And it's very hard to actually, delve into what skill sets do I want to improve and why do I want to improve them. We can
Mm,
sit here and say there's so many different tools and resources, but where do I start? That's the
right.
biggest thing. Where do I actually start? So what I like to do is I like to really hone in on the self-love. That's the biggest thing first.
Mm,
Self-love. If you can find your self-love in the inner parts of yourself, then you can really hone in on what you enjoy doing. And then that's where you can focus on what skill sets you want to really progress. So my advice is to first start with self-love. And there's several different apps for that. One I would highly recommend is called Yoga U. And Yoga U really it's a great app to essentially allow you to learn how to calm down and to learn how to just breathe. And then it allows you to declutter that mental, you know, part of yourself that's just all over the place, as mom, as businesswoman, as wife, as, sister, as neighbor, as whatever it is. You really want to just close all of that else, everything else out, and focus on you.
Mhm.
And so I would really highly recommend that app. You can do it as a beginner. And trust me, I am not a flexible person, so you don't have to worry about being, oh, I'm not very good with my muscles. I don't, my joints just crack every time I go to do anything. It's not like that at all. But Yoga U, look at that, and it'll help you learn to balance first. Balance your mentality first, and
Mm.
then you can move into finding the skill sets that you like. Do I enjoy crafting? Do I enjoy writing? Do I enjoy technology? Do I enjoy games? Do I enjoy, talking to people? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Am I both? So you really want to focus on who you are. And then there are tons of resources out there to help you engage in that skill set. Once you find your skill set, then we can move into what resources will help you engage, because there's so many out there right now.
That's thank you so much. That's a really great tip there. How would if moms wanted to use gaming as like a bonding tool with their kids, especially in today's digital world, what would you recommend? Is there any of your favorites that you recommend?
Sure. So there's tons of games that you can interact. I would highly recommend there's this program called Steam. If you haven't gone there, you can get a lot of free games on this.
Mm.
And it is a family platform. So you can share games with your kids as well. You can see what games they're playing. You can see what they're logged on to play. They can see where mom or dad is playing too, and you can leave reviews for games and so forth. So it's called Steam, and it is a very user-friendly platform. So you can download games, like I said, and then you can share them among your family members. There's so many games out there that are on this platform. You can go and try each one, and if you don't like it, you can move on to the next one. But I would recommend games, if you look under the category called MMOs, they're massively multiplayers. That means you can collaborate with other people instead of just playing the game yourself. So make sure that you're looking for those type of games. And I would highly recommend games that I like the cutesy games. I'm a cutesy type gamer, and those are called cozy. A lot of those are cozy games.
Cozy.
They are not, you don't play them to, most of the time you don't play them together. But I'm going to throw out a game right now that I think would be fantastic for the whole family. I'm addicted to it, but you can invite other people to play with you as well. And this is called Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It is so
Okay.
cute. It is the most adorable game. If you're familiar with games like Animal Crossing,
Yes.
which became very big during COVID because Nintendo had their Switch out, and they had just released the Switch, and that game came with the Switch at the time. So people didn't have a lot to do. It blew up. It had such a large following because people were inside and they played this game. So Animal Crossing is a great one, but Nintendo's kind of moving away from Animal Crossing. So
Mm.
I would do the Hello Kitty Island Adventure because it's almost exactly like Animal Crossing except for its Hello Kitty Sanrio type characters. And you build up your island, you collect things, you craft, you do adventures, and you can invite people to your island to help decorate your houses and things like that. So I would highly recommend it if you are looking to start off on a cozy, cute family type game that you can play together. And you can have different, character dresses, and you can change the colors of them, and just it's really, really cute. And that one is again Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I would definitely do that one.
I think I've heard of that one. I know my kids they're obsessed with Animal Crossing.
Yep.
Yeah, my daughter she still plays it to this day, and she's almost 21. She loves it. Um
Yep.
Uh, yeah. So many. Oh my goodness. They're also like, I think they can play together, right? On it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
Because they both had, well, all three of my older kids would get on and they would play and interact. And there was something about horses, and they also do Minecraft too. Like
Yep, Minecraft, and
Minecraft.
then Roblox is another one. It's
Yeah.
very popular. Roblox is very popular as well. So I would highly recommend utilizing those. Those are for the younger crowd. So if you have younger kids or Gen Z, millennials still play those as well. That's around those age groups it's really popular. You know, moving into adults or teen young adults and older adults as well. If you want to look at something that's connecting together, World of Warcraft was a good one. There's another one called Fallout. Those are pretty, I would say those are more mature
Mm,
content, but you can play them together and they're very detailed games that you can play. Those are things that my husband and I play and my kids as well. They're in their 20s. So we play those together. That's more of you have to think
mm.
and you have to be able to have unshaky hands in order to target things correctly. But so those ones are for the older ones, and I like those, Laura, because the game Fallout. I was so obsessed with the game because I loved the post-apocalyptic look and the steampunk type look,
Yes.
um, that I did a full scale for Comic-Con, Tampa Bay Comic-Con, and my husband and I created a 3D printed T60 armor set from the game Fallout. And we got the full patterns from the person who had created those in the game themselves. So
Wow.
we created a full T60 armor set out of 3D print, had it painted. My husband did all the, making sure it fit me. And we presented it at Tampa Bay Comic Con, and it was an absolute hit. But those are things that come from gaming. You can do these things as an older kids or adults. You can do things like engineering and 3D
Mm.
printing and crafting and building things from games that you enjoy, and then you can present them at conventions, and they become very big hits, which builds up that socialization.
I love that. I love I haven't played the game Fallout, but I've watched the TV show that they came out, the
Hmm.
series. It is so
Yes.
good.
It is very, very good. I was surprised because I was hoping they didn't ruin it, ruin the
Is it like the
storyline,
game?
but it is exactly like the game. Absolutely.
Okay,
So
that's good.
it's very, very good. But in talking about that, Laura, we talked bringing in the TV series
Yeah.
from that. Another thing with educational entertainment as well is television shows, right? Books that move into TV shows,
Hmm.
or TV shows that are really based on storyline. I don't know if you've ever heard of K-dramas
Yes.
or
My
J
daughter's
dramas.
obsessed.
Yes. So I'm hugely obsessed with K dramas. And the reason why is because the storylines are so engaging, and they really engage a lot of fantasy as well as relationships and problem solving techniques. And yet they really build on the storyline. So if you have a show that you're really, interested in watching, and just, trying to get yourself away from everything, really look into K-dramas or look into, certain television shows that really engage you. And as a military spouse, when I was by myself, I would stay away from things like, those murder mystery type
Oh,
things,
yes,
because
yes.
no, I couldn't do that when I was by myself.
You won't sleep the entire
You do not.
deployment.
Nope. So try to find something a little bit
That's
more
the last thing
cozy.
you need, especially when you got little babies at home and you need sleep.
Yes, I watched an episode of Law and Order when my
Oh
husband was
gosh.
deployed.
Hmm.
It was probably not the thing I should have been watching. I had the kids out in the living room. They fell asleep on the fold out. My couch went into a sleeper. So I put that out. They were laying down next to me. I was watching that. And you would not believe, it was the most horrible murder one that came on and I was like, why am I watching this? Right. And then the winds outside were so bad, they were shaking the door. So I thought someone was trying to get in
Oh
the door.
no. Oh my
So,
goodness.
your mind starts going, you're like, okay, I can't watch these anymore. So that was the last time I ever watched one of those.
That sounds so funny. I did something similar. I watched something and the kids weren't there. They were upstairs playing, and then I was like, time for bed. I'm like, you know what? Let's all just have a camp out in the living room
Hmm.
because there was no way I was going anywhere else.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. I'm like, no.
That's so funny. The things we do. Uh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of like screen time and all of that, like what do you think your thoughts on like screen time balance? How do we encourage like healthy gaming habits
Mhm.
without overuse?
Sure. I absolutely it is really part of our parenting that we have to be the moderators for this. If they're younger, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if they are younger, my suggestion is to really limit the screen time and make it more of a you give them a reason to want to get off that screen, right? You don't want to just say just get off that screen. They're not going to amount to anything, okay? Because that's
Oh
not
gosh, yeah.
they could be gamers, game developers in the future. You don't know.
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
but give them a reason to say, you know what, this isn't as important as I thought it was. I would really like to be off of here, and I would really like to go spend time with my family. So when you're not giving them reasons, besides the fact that if you are off screen, you're going to do homework or you're going to do your chores, that's even as adults, we're like, why would I get off this game? I
I don't
don't
want
want
to
to
do
go
that.
and do that. I'm going to procrastinate here.
Yes.
So
Yes.
give them other reasons to say, hey, let's go outside. Let's
Hmm.
go, play baseball. Let's go ride a bike. Let's go watch TV together, or let's play a board game together. If you want to play a game, let's play a board game. Get off of the technology.
Mm.
Let's have dinner. Now, one of the things that I do is when we have dinner, we do not have our technology. We sit and we actually talk. So that's a really big thing. And also, I make it known that Sundays are our family days. We always go and do something outside the house if we can. If not, then we'll do a board game together. But we do something as a family. And that really gives the kids something to look forward to, something to say, when they're older, they have a memory of actually sitting down and playing games with their parents, and that's where it makes it more bonding. So if they're younger, I would definitely do something like that where you set the times. If you're older, if you have older kids where they're teens, in games there are timers that you can set for the game to shut off.
Mm.
So if now this again, this takes you as the parent to make sure you're moderating these things to
Right.
say, I know this game. This is the game that I'm going to set a timer for, and it's going to shut off. You can also do this with your own internet. Okay. So if you're not tech savvy, you might want to look it up, but you can set your internet router to shut off a specific computer at a certain time.
Mm.
That really works. So you say, hey, look, do your chores, get on, play your game for a little while. It's going to shut off after this many times. So make sure that you're using your time wisely. And, we have to do that for adults ourselves too. When we have work, we can't get on the computer, we have to go to work. We know this.
Right.
So, you have to kind of moderate your kids in doing that as well and teaching them screen time.
Yes, yes. It's hard sometimes. It's so much easier here, take the tablet,
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard, but once you get in that routine and that schedule, it
Mm-hmm.
becomes easier, I think.
Right.
Uh,
Absolutely.
I know there's sometimes I'm like, I don't want to work. I just want to play on my phone.
But that's good. That's good for you too, because we do need that downtime. We're so busy doing so much, in our lives that it's like, when do I have time for mom? When do I have time for me? And so, but those are the times where you say, okay, kids, go ahead, play. You have, 4 hours to play your games. 4 hours are mine. So
Yeah.
don't bother me. Go play your games, do whatever, but 4 hours are for me. So,
Yes. They usually don't understand that though.
mhm,
Sometimes my little one,
mhm,
they're like little Velcro babies. Um,
right.
but I'll cherish that. I know it only lasts a minute.
I
So
know it does.
You mentioned like board games and stuff. What's your old school, like favorite old school game?
Wow, I am a shoots and ladders person,
Oh, yes,
um,
yes.
only because I just, I love doing the little slide down.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, I like shoots and ladders. I was not a big gamer on Twister because
Mm.
I have no balance saving my life. So
We tried that a couple of times as a family. Yeah, that was not good.
it just doesn't work out for me.
No, 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 no. Especially when you have no bladder
No,
control.
no, at all, at all. It just
Oh
doesn't
my
work
gosh.
for me.
Oh my goodness. Well, what would you say? One more question. What would be if you could put together a toolkit, an empowerment toolkit for moms, what would you put in it?
Sure, I absolutely. So gosh, there were so many different things I would put in it. The first thing that I would really put in it is a journal. I would definitely put a journal in there so that I could, write down certain things that that happened in my day, what I didn't like. I love to vent in my journal. So it really does help me like get things out on paper. It's one thing when we yell and scream, but when you put it down on paper and then you go back and reread it, you really look at yourself. You really look at yourself and say, why? Why was I so upset about that? That was the dumbest thing. I don't understand. But you've written it down
Yeah,
so that you see how you are. Now, another thing that I would put in there is a brush, like a hairbrush, because women, us moms, we love to look beautiful. It doesn't matter how old we are, but when we have a bad hair day, it's just does not work out for us. There are so many women I know are like, they have the worst day where they're like, Kat, I don't feel it today. I'm like, why? My hair is just not doing it. So have a brush your hair, make yourself feel beautiful. That's perfectly fine as well. And then another thing that I would definitely have chapstick.
mm.
Chapstick's the
Plastic,
worst.
yes, yes.
Oh, it is the worst when, you're just, even in the heat in Florida and then the cold up in, the north, you always need that chapstick. So
Yeah,
have that chapstick, make yourself feel a little bit better during the day, during the week, during the month, and then write that all down in a journal.
love it. Love it. Kat, this has been such a fascinating conversation. I just love how you've completely reframed gaming and from something that's just for fun for something that can empower, educate, and uplift families, especially for moms and military spouses looking for new ways to grow. So, but before we wrap up, if you could leave one final piece of advice for moms who may be feeling stuck, burned out, or looking for new ways to grow, what would you tell them?
Get on one of if you can't get out, then get on a game and really try to build that friendship up. Try to find someone you can relate to. We are made to be and interact with other people. That's the type of creatures we are as humans. And when we're stuck in our houses and we're lonely and we crave attention or we crave something to do, it's always good to have someone by your side. So even if it's virtually, get on a game and play with somebody, make a new friend. It can be a lifetime.
I love that. And what's the best way for our listeners to reach out and connect with you?
Sure. So you can go to my website. It's katbratedu, KatBrateedu.com. And I'm also on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, YouTube. Again, katbratedu. It's as simple as that.
I love it. Thank you. Kat, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. Your work is so important, and I love that you're showing moms, military families, and everyday leaders that growth doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun, creative, and even entertaining. And to all the moms that are listening, whether you're a military spouse, a working mom, or just someone looking for a fresh perspective, this episode is a reminder that learning and personal development don't have to be overwhelming. So if you love this conversation, please be sure to connect with Kat and check out all her incredible work. And as always, if you found value in today's episode, share it with another mom who needs to hear this too. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and most importantly, keep finding joy in the journey. We'll see you next time.